Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. In this lesson, we'll look at using reduced was in everyday phrases. We'll practice shadowing so that you can fluently use the word was in these everyday phrases naturally and easily, the way a native speaker would. So our first phrase we'll do is it was. And notice how when I say it was, I don't say it was. The T on it gets unreleased and the was is quick. So it was, it was. I'm stopping the air for the it, but releasing on the w of was. Let's try some. It was her sister. It was her brother. It was her mother. Notice also with her, it gets reduced to the H can drop. It was her, it was her. It was her dad. It was her uncle. It was her cousin. It was her friend. It was her husband. It was her wife. Let's try another it was. We'll do it with my. It was my. It was my sister. It was my brother. It was my mother. It was my father. It was my dad. It was my uncle. It was my cousin. It was my friend. It was my husband. It was my wife. Let's do one more and we'll use your reduced to your. It was your. It was your. It was your sister. It was your brother. It was your mother. It was your father. It was your dad. It was your uncle. It was your cousin. It was your friend. It was your wife. It was your husband. Now let's try where was. We'll do where was my. Where was my? Where was my sister? Where was my brother? Where was my mother? Where was my father? Where was my dad? Where was my uncle? Where was my cousin? Where was my friend? Where was my husband? Where was my wife? Let's try where was our, and our gets reduced to our. Where was our? Where was our? Notice here that was links to our, and we can hear the Z sound strongly on was. Where was our? Where was our? Where was our sister? Where was our brother? Where was our mother? Where was our father? Where was our dad? Where was our uncle? Where was our cousin? Where was our friend? Where was our husband? Where was our wife? Now let's try another was where we start with was that. Because was that is a yes-no question, you're going to notice a rising intonation on the stressed word, which will be the last word in the phrase. For example, was that their brother? We're going to rise up on brother on the stressed syllable and the second syllable. Brother, was that their brother? Let's try it. Was that their sister? Was that their brother? Was that their mother? Was that their father? Was that their dad? Was that their uncle? Was that their cousin? Was that their friend? Was that their husband? Was that their wife? Let's try that with was that his? And we'll, between that and his, we'll drop the H of his and we'll flap the T of that. Was that is. Was that is. The only time I wouldn't do these reductions is if I were stressing on the word in the middle column. For example, if I was trying to say, was that his brother as opposed to her brother, then I would keep the H and I would use an unreleased T. Was that his? Was that his brother? But in typical speech, the last word in the final column will be stressed so that the H of his can drop. Was that is. Let's try some. Was that his sister? Was that his brother? Was that his mother? Was that his father? Was that his dad? Was that his uncle? Was that his cousin? Was that his wife? Was that his friend? Was that his husband? And while we're working on was, we'll do one round working on wasn't. Depending on what comes after wasn't, you may or may not hear the T sound. So if I was saying that wasn't your, I'll use an unreleased T because the y of your is a consonant sound. If I was using wasn't a, I might drop the T entirely because NT tends to drop in linked cases, just like we would in the word internet or interview. Wasn't a, we can leave that T off. Let's try that with with leaving the T off, and we'll use it wasn't a. It wasn't a sister. I'll change it to a more appropriate pronoun. She wasn't a sister. He wasn't a brother. She wasn't a mother. He wasn't a dad. He wasn't a father. He wasn't an uncle. She wasn't a cousin. She wasn't a friend. He wasn't a husband. She wasn't a wife. Let's try one where wasn't will have an unreleased T because the next word is a consonant sound. We'll do that with your. It wasn't your. It wasn't your. So notice how I don't do wasn't your, but wasn't your. The air stops for the unreleased T. It wasn't your sister. It wasn't your brother. It wasn't your mother. It wasn't your father. It wasn't your dad. It wasn't your uncle. It wasn't your cousin. It wasn't your friend. It wasn't your husband. It wasn't your wife. Thanks for practicing with me today on reduced phrases using was and wasn't, linking and making some reductions on the pronouns. You can always slow down these videos to hear the connection and hear the sounds and practice at a slower rate. I recommend 0.75 or 0.5 initially. If you're finding it difficult to keep pace with that fluent speech, then you can eventually speed back up to sound more natural when you're speaking. The most important piece is that you're linking things together, you're stretching on the stressed words, and you're going quickly and reducing on the unstressed words. The reason these sound different is that the stressed word has clear vowels, is important. We can hear that carries the meaning, and the unstressed words go faster and thereby get linked and reduced. You can learn more and practice more in our additional shadowing videos on our fluency playlist and get even more details in our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com, where I teach you the Real Talk technique of linking and fluent speech using TV and movies as well as everyday phrases. Check it out on our website, speechmodification.com. Thanks for practicing with me today and looking forward to seeing you next time. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.